5:32. I think that we'll get started just to be respectful of everybody's time. So welcome everybody and thank you for joining. We're here this evening for an update on the World University Games. We have Jim McKenna, the CEO of our organization, ROOST. He's going to give an update on housing. We have the Village of Lake Placid Mayor, Art Devlin, who's going to give us a brief update on the Main Street progress. We have Ashley Walden. She's the Executive Director of the Lake Placid 2023, of the Adirondack Sports Council, which is executing the World University Games. And I don't think I missed anybody, but we are going to start the conversation with Jim. And if you have any questions and you want to put them in the chat or raise your hand, the only problem is I'm not seeing everybody on the screen. So if you just want to put, I have a question or whatever, we can pause in between the presentations and answer those questions. And we can certainly take time at the end of the presentation for Q&A as well. So welcome. Thank you for joining this evening. And we're going to start with Jim McKenna. So take it away. Jim, you're on mute.
Good evening, everybody. And I'm not sure if you pointed out Mike Pratt, MJ.
Oh my gosh, did I forget Mike? Oh my gosh, Mike, I'm so sorry. You're right in the middle. And of course, Mike Pratt from the Olympic Authority will be speaking on the progress of the venues. Thank you, Jim. Sorry, Mike, I don't know how that happened.
Well, I'm going to start. I'll start off a little bit, but maybe, just reviewing why type of thing that this whole project is going forward, and it's, a little over a year away. But, I was trying to figure out the best way to describe some of the why. And, I'm just going to throw out the word Detroit, city of Detroit. What do we think of? Usually Motor City, automobiles. How about Vegas? What do you think of? Gambling. It's got an identity. Hollywood. Think the film industry. How about Rochester, New York? If I asked Rochester 20 years ago, it would have been Kodak, because that was Kodak City. And, but they lost that brand. All right, if I say Lake Placid, we have an identity, we have a region, but what's the outside world feel? I'm not saying that we have been in the Rochester situation, but 40 years after an Olympic Games, things get dated, things get time. I guess the point is that it's important for us to maintain that international sport identity. And, the World University Games is giving us that opportunity right now in many similar ways that the 1932 Games gave us identity when the venues were first came to be here. That was built during the Great Depression. It was built in an economic time that wasn't great. It was a starting of winterizing housing here on a large part, where houses became winterized. People, visitors, and residents lived here longer. We can look at the 1980 Games. We can certainly see what that done. That certainly built the venues new, but it also reinforced the brand, the differentiator of Lake Placid for many, many years. Certainly the hockey team and Eric Heiden added to a lot of that. Then we had the World University. We had the only edition of the Goodwill Games that saw a new sliding track built. So all of those, over time, things change. And how do we maintain that brand identity? Certainly an Olympic Games was not in our cards the way that had grown, but the World University Games offered that mechanism that would be an international, multi-sport winter competition that needed current venues. Also, we can identify that the whole process was not only looking at the sports venues, but looking at the infrastructure of the area, the village, the town, the region, the road systems, the housing situation, which has been highlighted much more recently over the last 3 years, and how important that is to have a sustainable community, and many other community essentials. Sort of the Games for the last couple of years has been a focal point of pulling that together. And certainly Ashley and Mike will talk about the venues, but if you look, just looking at the sports venues, if we look 5 years ago, I call that pre-Pratt. I don't know if that's right, but You know, we could not hold an international biathlon competition. The ski jumps could not handle the international high-level ski jumping. The speed skating oval was struggling as our temperatures are warming up. The arenas were in a position where they looked 40 years old. As we jumpstart forward now, we see that changing. But the other opportunity, which, you know, really we started focusing on, or many people started focusing on, not just us, I mean, many people, was really the housing situation. And how can we use the university games as a focal point to try to get jumpstart housing in a manner that it's going to be guaranteed long-term for residents. The short-term rental phenomenon is probably not going away. And that's probably been our biggest challenge in maintaining the community housing infrastructure. But right now, with there's housing projects on right now that are totaling, well, you got 60 on West Valley Road, the Mackenzie Overlook, lower income, but 60 units there. Cannot have short-term rentals, cannot be used for hospitality. Further up, Fawn Ridge Valley, another 22 units that'll also have a top end on what they can charge for the housing units, no short-term rentals. You go over to the Peaks, there's going to be 261 units there, no short-term rentals, no hospitality use with income caps on them, plus 90 condos, which will be more market rate. And then you look at other things, even like Schulte's Motor Inn, that is being converted to 11 housing units. So we've now got about 354 housing units. Are the World University Games responsible for that? Probably not directly, but indirectly, they became a focal point for investment. And similar to what happened in 1932, similar to what happened in 1980. And it's positioning us now to jumpstart and keep the identity, not to become a Rochester, but continue to be Lake Placid, on not only the image in around our region, but the image globally, which is going to be important for us because the world continues to change, and having that identity that nobody else is positioning us to maintain an economy well beyond the traditional sports or traditional tourism economy. So I guess that in perspective, looking at the games, it's a challenge, and there's a lot of challenges, parts of it, and there'll probably be inconveniences, and, you know, but it hits those identity points that are important. From a viewership globally, not counting the United States, over 300 last couple of sets of university games, over 350 million viewers on a worldwide basis. The sports organizations internationally and our national governing bodies of sports are now focusing again on our region. It's a way to maintain that, and the housing opportunities that we have will certainly be geared more for initially and long-term residents, but it'll put us in a position where we can grow population. If you follow the census material, we've lost 20% of our public school enrollment. So there's just so many things going on that the focal point have been the university games. And thank God for the help and support of New York State. So I'm done, Mary Jane. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any questions as we continue to move? And if you have any questions or any thoughts that come up, feel free to put them in the chat, or just let me know that you have a question and we will definitely answer them. Next, I'd like to welcome Mayor Devlin. Mayor, would you like to give a brief update on where we are with the Main Street project?
Sure. I just walked it this afternoon. It's really tying together nicely. You know, everyone's been really good. Everyone's been putting out a hard effort. Everyone's been putting up with a lot, and we're starting to see the fruits of our efforts. If you look at the north end of Main Street, you're starting to see the finished product on the sidewalks. You're starting to see the crosswalks. You're starting to see the landscaping going in. The projection at the last meeting I went to on Monday by the contractors, they think that they're somewhere between 70 and 75% done with the project. And when you think about that being a 3-year project, to be 70% done in the first season is really great. What their plan is to finish up this week and a little bit the next week and be shutting down just before Thanksgiving. The detour will go away at that point. And when they come back next year, they hope by Memorial Day to have the bulk of the work done. and they'll be down to really a punch list between then and the end of June. By the end of June, I would think the detour will be coming down probably permanently, but I don't want to speak for them. And it is possible that detour might come down earlier depending on how quickly they can get their work done. Just depends on the weather. And if they do have to come back, we'll say in the fall, it will be small things like plantings that need to be done later in the year than earlier. I doubt you're going to see any kind of detour. I think it's going to be more just spot little tiny bits of work. And if they do come back in 2023 to do anything, it might be warranty work, maybe where a sidewalk sagged a little bit or something didn't hold up. But really, the majority of the work is going to be done by Memorial Day.
So in regards to what they're going to get done between the time they come back in the spring and Memorial Day, is that pretty much finishing up the sidewalks? Is that where we are? And then finishing the paving of Main Street?
The sidewalks will be finished. Well, they're already finished on the on the west side, which is away from the lake, from the High Peaks Resort down to the NBT parking lot. And they're already going from Mids Park to Brewster Park with the sidewalk. So the sidewalks will need to be finished will be south mostly of NBT and that small portion from Mids Park down to NBT. The bigger part of what they're going to be doing is just like they did at the end of this work season, is there's 3 different road beds there. You have a cement road that was in Lake Placid, you had bricks that were in Lake Placid, and then blacktop, many layers. That's all being dug out. That's where you saw the road being taken down 6 feet, and they'll put back in road beds. They'll compact that. They'll set the curbing at the same time. And that's really going to be the majority of their work. When you think about it, that's not much compared to what we've been doing.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions on the Main Street construction? All right. This is a easy
Like I
crowd,
say,
isn't it?
Thank everybody. I mean, Kubricki did a great job to get us where we are. The village employees did a great job of doing things that Kubricki needed to keep going, but the merchants, everybody, you know, all the village and town people to put up with what we've done, it made everything work. All you can just say is thank you to everybody.
That's great. Thank you very much for sharing that update. We're really excited that we're wrapping it up much earlier than anticipated. That's great news. Okay, so we're going to move along. Again, feel free to put any questions in the chat or just let us know that you have a question. Next up, we have Ashley Walden, the Executive Director of the Adirondack Sports Council. Welcome, Ashley. And you just want to make sure that you unmute.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. And I have a number of updates, MJ. So if there are questions that come into the chat that are appropriate to those areas, feel free to jump in and stop me and I can answer them as we go too.
Sounds good.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us this evening. I am extremely excited to have the fortunate opportunity to lead the project and lead the organizing committee for the 2023 World University Games. Just a little bit of background. I first came to the Lake Placid area in 1996. I came here for sports. I chose to base all of my training out of Lake Placid because I saw at the time that it was the premier training location. Over the 15 years that I spent here training, I unfortunately saw the numbers of athletes from all sports that chose to base out of Lake Placid and train here decline rapidly. So I am not only excited to be involved in this project, but I am excited about the legacy that the University Games and all of the ORDA renovations will have for the sporting history here in Lake Placid. This is probably the greatest training facility for winter sports in the world. Many people internationally will come here and be in awe of not only the facilities, but the support systems with the Olympic Training Center, with NICEF, with all the sport organizations here in Lake Placid. So again, this is a passion project for me and very, very fortunate to be a piece of it. So just a quick overview. Some of you may have read some of the initial information that started to come out on the University Games, but for those of you not familiar with it, 2023 will be the 31st edition of the Winter World University Games. The Winter World University Games are the largest collegiate multi-sport winter event in the world. You've often probably heard that it will be twice the size of the 1980 Olympics. I do want to qualify that. That number and that statistic that you hear is based on the number of athletes competing. We will compete over 12 sports, and it will be gender equity between each of the sports. So the same amount of male and female athletes competing, and that number of athletes is double the amount of athletes that competed here in 1980. So while the number of athletes is double, we do not expect everything associated with the games to also be double. So I do just want to qualify that. Lake Placid has actually been the only state in the United States to host a university games. Lake Placid hosted in 1972 for the winter edition, and Buffalo, New York hosted in 1993 for the summer edition. And while the event is not as well known here in the United States, it is very well known in Europe and in Asia, with the NCAA here in North America being really the premier platform for collegiate athletes. The World University Games are really that marquee event for university athletes across the rest of the world. We do anticipate, just a rundown of numbers, that we will have 1,600 athletes that will be representing more than 60 nations. What also makes the University Games unique is that these athletes aren't just representing their country, but they're also representing their universities. And we anticipate that out of the 1,600 athletes in the 60 nations, they will represent over 600 universities. You've probably often also seen that you'll see numbers of 2,500 for participants. We call them delegate members. This is the 1,600 athletes and their support staff. So the additional 900 is coming from their sports support staff, which makes up coaches, medical providers, media liaisons, all the other client groups that are associated with the games. All of these athletes will contest 12 different sports, totaling 86 medal events within the sports. Those 12 sports are alpine and Nordic skiing, curling, figure skating, freestyle and free ski, ice hockey, short track speed skating, also known as long track, ski jumping, and snowboard. And now the games are referenced as the Lake Placid 2023 Winter World University Games, but it's important to note that it's not just the Lake Placid region that is hosting these games. They are going to be spread across 3 different regions. And even here in Lake Placid, Wilmington at Whiteface Mountain will host alpine. The 2 other regions, Potsdam and Canton, will host all of the preliminary rounds of men's and women's ice hockey. And down at Gore Mountain in North Creek, New York, they will be the host for snowboard and all the freestyle and free ski events. So this really is a regional event. It's touching, even beyond the Adirondack area. And we're very excited to be able to not only have Lake Placid host the games, but to expose all of this international audience to the North Country. Some developments as we move on in our planning. We are, Jim mentioned earlier that there will be some inconveniences. We hope to continue to keep you updated through this forum and others on what some of those inconveniences may be. But I really see it not so much as inconveniences, but opportunities. This is a chance to expose the region to an international audience. And we are extremely excited not only to do that, but also we think that there will be positive impacts on the businesses. And we have started to attend the monthly meetings with the Lake Placid Business Association. Unfortunately, tonight they're hosting their meeting also at 5:30, so we were unable to attend. But we're dedicated to working with the businesses and the community here to make sure that this event is not only successful for those attending, but it's also a successful event for the community and long term. We really think that there are benefits not only to the businesses, but also to the community and the community members and the schools here in the area. This is a university games, and we're dedicated to involving as many university students as possible in the execution of these games. So that may include volunteers or support staff, or even some short-term paid positions. We also think this is a great opportunity to share with our community and with our school districts the international and diverse cultures that we will be exposed to over these 12 days of competition. So the World University Games are being held from January 12th to the 22nd of 2023. We do anticipate that this will have a little bit of an impact on the school calendar. So we're working closely with the Lake Placid Central School District on any of those changes. And again, we see these as opportunities to engage the students and have the middle school and high school students and potentially the elementary school be exposed to the cultures that are here. We also have a large call of action for the community members and any of their friends or relatives in the area. Outside of all of the positions that we have currently for workforce, we also have a need for around 2,000 volunteers. Those volunteers are again spread across the 3 regions, but we see this as a community effort, and we're really hoping that everybody here locally in the community will help us host the World and be a part of our volunteer program. Some of the incentives around that will include uniform, event tickets, meals. We think, there's a number of ways that that not only the local community here are the best hosts because they know the area and they are the advocates for the area, but also we want them to feel ownership because this is a part of our community. Additionally, I do want to call out on the call, we have Catherine Leist, who is our manager of volunteer programs. She is putting together a volunteer program registration that I believe will go live this week. Catherine Leist is a Paul Smith's grad. I believe she currently lives in Saranac Lake, and we're extremely excited to have her on board to lead these efforts. She will be out at Mount Van Hovenberg this weekend at their open house event. So please stop by, say hello, and introduce yourself, get to know some of our team, and find out more about the games. We've started to ramp up some of our promotional activities. You'll see that the town worked with us very closely on all of the signage and the banners that you'll see around all of Main Street and Saranac Ave, heading down even on the backside of Mirror Lake. We continue to have a promotional plan that will include not just the Lake Placid region, but we'll reach out to Canton and Potsdam, Saranac Lake, Wilmington, and obviously and North Creek as well. We had a successful 500 day out celebration. So anybody that joined us in Mids Park, thank you. That was really a kickoff here to the area on the event. We do plan on extending that with a 1-year event that will be on around the Martin Luther King weekend of 2023. We'll keep you updated about that event, but we do hope that you will join us for some of the festivities on that weekend. The planning of these games, it is a huge lift, and I would just like to call out a few organizations that have been partnered with us on this the entire way, and we could not do it without them. So first of all, Mike Pratt, thank you to you and the entire ORDA team. The state of New York and their support has been incredible. ROOST, thank you very much for all of your support. We do work in partnership with ROOST on all of the promotional events and helping to market it. So I do want to, again, welcome everybody on Saturday to join us and the ORDA team out at Mount Van Hovenberg. And also, please check out on our website or on the ORDA website. We have a schedule for the winter 2022 and 23 events, which are being slated as test events for the games. If you'd like to be involved either as a volunteer or come and check out some of the events, please look at the schedule and reach out to us with any questions. MJ, you're on mute.
I always am. And as soon as I try and catch myself and then someone's like, you're on mute, I'm like, oh. So a couple things. So we have a couple of questions going on, and some are going to be specifically for Mike. And so those that are for Mike, such as Mary, I'll wait until Mike gets through and then we can answer some of those questions. We also have a question about the widening of the trails and taking down the trees on the mountain. So Mike, those I'm going to hold for you. Ashley, just talk a little bit about your highlight of, the Save Winter initiatives and how that looks, and just give us a little bit of what that is exactly, the Save the Winter initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's the Winter University Games outside of athletes representing not only their host nations, but also their universities. There's a requirement for a 2 or 3 day educational forum. We have chosen the platform for that forum to be centered around climate change and the impact that it has on sports, particularly winter sports. And the initiative around that, titled Save Winter, is being pulled together not only as the host for or the umbrella for this conference, but also to meet the sustainability needs and requirements that BCU has for the university games, and also that are near and dear to our hearts, especially being based here out of the Adirondack. So that initiative you will start to see as it unfolds. We are working closely with Paul Smith and Clarkson University and a number of other agencies, ANCA, some of you may be familiar with, on the Save Winter initiative. During the games, we will bring the educational forum out to the venues. We want it to really be a hands-on forum where people are starting to not only see some of the impacts that we may see on an everyday basis, but spectators and others that are traveling to the area can recognize some of the climate change impacts, find out more information from the ORDA team on a number of the sustainable efforts that they have done to help mitigate them, and also make not only these games, but Mike and his team is doing a great job at making this area a LEED certified area. So that's the basic overview of Save Winter, and you can also find out more information on the website savewinter.com.
Thank you. And then, you talked a little bit about the in-market promotional campaign, and the question is, are you reaching out to any of the surrounding towns such as Jay and Keene in regards to those campaigns as well?
Yes, we will. We really just started here in the central region, and we'll be branching out. The next 2 regions that we're doing are Potsdam, Canton, and North Creek, and then we will start to fill in all of the areas in between. We again do see this as regional, even if Keene and Jay and some of the other areas are not hosting. We do expect a number of spectators and, whether it be lodging properties or those areas to be impacted and utilized for the games as well.
And then lastly is, what about the public transportation during the games? Is there going to be transportation around the venues? And also, can you just take a quick second and address the parking?
Yes. So this is obviously, anybody that's familiar with 1980 or has heard the stories, this is a #1 priority for us to ensure that the transportation runs smoothly. Right now, we work very closely with the New York State Department of Transportation, the Lake Placid Village Police, and all of the key client groups in the area. We are responsible to not only move the athletes from all of their accommodations to their training facilities, training competition facilities, but we also, because of the congestion that we will have around the Olympic Center and Main Street, we will be setting up a park and ride. Right now, the plan is to put all of the parking at the horse show grounds and supply shuttle services into the Olympic Center, and also Main Street. The DOT and New York State Police are working on the transport routing. We do know that at some points Main Street will be restricted, whether it be one-way traffic, whether it be certain hour restricted, we don't know. We don't have the details yet, and we'll continue to keep you updated. But the plan right now is to have a spectator park and ride for the horse show grounds into the Olympic Center area. All the other venues should be able to accommodate the spectators on site. And if we find that Whiteface, for example, will not be, then we'll work on a park and ride system there. One other thing I was going to mention on the, I do want to say that we will obviously be working with the Lake Placid Business Association. And I believe that Chuck Dobson from Lake Placid Police has been around to all the businesses to start these conversations as well. So anybody that has concerns about it, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll continue to work and keep you updated.
Thank you very much, Ashley. will transportation be an outside service? The school bus, like you mentioned in 1980, was horrible. I don't know if you figured that out exactly what the transportation will look like or what it will be.
The plan right now is to be outside for it to go out to bid in, I believe, February or March of 22 for an outside company to provide the bus and the drivers and those services. So we are looking at a contracted service.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move on to Mike Pratt from ORDA. Thank you for joining us this evening, Mike. There's a couple questions. I don't know if you want to jump into the questions first or if you want to start just giving us an overview of where we are with the projects and the ongoing capital updates and improvements. Or
yeah, well, thanks, MJ. Yeah, I think I'd like to just do a quick overview first. Certainly, this has been a great opportunity for us to modernize the facilities. We had a few philosophical decisions right off the bat. We wanted to make sure that the facilities were vibrant year-round. And what's resulted from that has already been having 3 more national governing bodies of sport move to Lake Placid, and we're hosting athletes from 7 Olympic sports training daily now. So it's the results from some of those commitments has been great. And another one has been the commitment to multi-use occupancy, where we place the elite athletes right next to the recreational enthusiasts and right in front of the tourists and the spectators. And that's made a tremendous dynamic, as had the different sports training next to each other. That's something that's unique. And the athletes in the sports have really embraced those opportunities to utilize the same facilities for their different sports and just share the synergies and excitement right in front of the tourists and spectators and recreational enthusiasts. So that's those have been some really quick short-term successes. We couldn't have had any of those without the devotion of the staff. The staff have been great. And this isn't just recent. The 1980 Olympic facilities were really, they didn't have those philosophical commitments to sustain the venues for the next 30 or 40 years. It was the ingenuity and commitment of the staff that held them together. They were designed to host a 2-week event, and we kind of had to deal with it ever since. And as far as the Olympic Authority reacted to the situations, historically our finance department was in a locker room, our human resource department was in a locker room, and some of the administrative offices had the best views in Lake Placid. But we walked away from that and wanted to enhance the programs in the Olympic Center by allowing them to utilize the locker rooms and wanted to free up the square footage of some of the administrative offices so that the tourists and visitors and spectators could appreciate the views and utilize the facilities better. So again, our commitment was to try to make these facilities work for the next 30 years. And a lot of that was done by committing to value engineering exercises, committing to sustainability exercises. We have installed EV chargers at the venues. We've installed the most efficient systems. We've purchased hybrid grooming tractors and electric Zambonis, and are just trying to take advantage of everything we're doing. At Gore Mountain, we have the largest solar power plant devoted to a ski area in North America. And Whiteface has one that's 2.6 megawatts. So, our commitments to the environment have been real and not only successful socially and environmentally, but also economically and sustaining us with our operational budgets also. A great example of this whole philosophy is the refrigeration at the Olympic Center. Every refrigeration system in the United States for arenas is classified as commercial. We did a value engineering exercise and committed to an industrial refrigeration system. And the result has been that we're able to operate at apples to apples with 280 less horsepower. So we're going to benefit from that decision every single month with the electric bill. But also the community is, and Village Electric doesn't have to build up their infrastructure to support that extra 280 horsepower. So those are just some philosophical decisions we've made along the way to take advantage of all this. At Mount Van Hoevenberg, hopefully everyone's been out there this summer to take a look at what we've accomplished. But some summer training by athletes, by Nordic people, by para-Nordic teams, by the sliding sports people has all been great. Again, the ingenuity of the ORDA staff is evidence there, where there's a bridge that goes from the lodge across to the ski trails. And during competitions, historically, the Mount Van Hoevenberg trails would have to close to recreational skiers. Now, the competition course leaves the stadium underneath the bridge and then returns underneath the other side of the bridge, so that when the families want to go enjoy the trails, they can cross the bridge, head over into the other trails network and systems and enjoy their day and not even cross the competition trails. At the ski jumps, we're the only homologated certified facility in North America now with sanctioned jumps for training and for competition, summer and winter. And we just had the United States National Nordic Jumping Team and Nordic Combined Team in town for a week. They wanted to test out the jumps. It was really spontaneous. They also wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to work with some of their sponsors for this Olympic year. During the last Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, 51% of the United States athletes came through Lake Placid, and we're hoping that number grows. In 1932, at the Oval in the 1932 Olympics, we invented the tiered podium. And our goal right now is to get more American athletes on the top of that podium. And there's a lot of people that should be on top of it from some of the work that we've done and accomplished in the last few years. It's been really busy. At the speed skating oval, we're hoping that the end of this week we can pour the last piece of concrete and then get through the curing process and have the ice on before Christmas. If we miss the end of this week and we have to finish it up next week, we'll still have the ice on before Christmas. So it's that project has just been a monster, but it's really turning out well. Inside the Olympic Center, we've had skating all summer long in the USA rink with a temporary refrigeration system. We've commissioned our new refrigeration system. It's gone very well. We're ready in the next few weeks to switch over, and we'll put the ice on the 1932 rink and then the 1980 rink, and then take the ice off of the USA rink. And then when we freeze up the oval before Christmas, then we'll resurface the USA rink also. So that's coming out really well. Obviously, the Link building, we've got a very efficient air conditioning system in it now. And when we get that building enclosed, we're going to be working on that until early fall next year. So we still have a lot of work there. Whiteface, it's been a tremendous summer, modernizing and replacing some of the pumps in different pump houses. Greatest vertical in the East. It's a series of booster pumps, but the commissioning of the pumps have gone very well, and probably at the beginning of the week, we'll start going around the clock with snowmaking. see what the weather brings next week. Gore Mountain has gone incredibly well. They had inspections of their freestyle courses for border cross, skier cross, and for slope style and big air. And the FIS officials were just thrilled, and the U.S. ski team committed to put Gore on their annual stop for their Futures Tour and Whole Shot Tour competitions. We are getting back into events. Everything's a challenge. The sliding sports are staying away, and some of the most high profile competitions during this Olympic year are kind of sticking to Europe and Asia with the Olympics in China, just trying to avoid the North American tour. And that's what's happened with both luge and with bobsled. But in March, we'll be hosting the ECAC championship again, as well as the NCAA Division III national championships for hockey. We'll obviously be doing that in the 1980 rink. Some of our improvements, we have the ability now to change ice size from international size to NHL size. And that's been really well received and opened up some more opportunities. When we host those tournaments, we'll be utilizing the entrance in the 1932 rink and then going through the hallway. And that way we can ensure all the ADA accessibility until the link building is completed. But we did, the ADA stuff, that's another commitment with all these modernization projects, trying to make sure that we're meeting all the codes rather than being grandfathered with the antiquated facilities. And the top row of seats in certain sections around the 80 rink has been removed so that there's a landing to pull a wheelchair up and accommodate any of the special needs from that clientele. So I think that, again, the staff has been very diligent and resourceful, looking at short-term needs, long-term opportunities, short-term opportunities, long-term needs, just trying to really make sure that the venues would be successful for the next 30 years. During the games, the Olympic Center is going to be hosting figure skating and short track speed skating, while the preliminary hockey is in Potsdam and Canton. And then after this speed skating and figure skating, we'll switch the ice over and get the lines on it so that we can host the medal rounds for hockey. But the cross-country skiing and the alpine skiing will stay open for the public, as well as hosting the events.
Mike, so the question in regards to making the decision to, clear some of widen the slopes at Whiteface and the concern over the tree cutting, can you address that?
Certainly deforestation isn't the right word for it. That's sensationalizing the issue. But with the race trails, we look at conforming to the standards, trying to make sure that we provide the safety. The sports have all evolved, and with alpine skiing, with the shape skis, the speeds are faster, the turns are sharper, the safety requirements are requiring more netting, and the courses are looking to be wider to be able to accommodate all that, to provide the safe venue for the event.
Couple of other things quickly, and one is there was an event last week at the ski jumps, and I'm not sure if it was hosted by ORDA or maybe another organization, but the question is it seems to be, how can we let the community know in more timely or more widespread that these events are going on? I think it might have been the ribbon cutting of this.
Well, we did have the U.S. national team in, as I said, and we finished the summer surface on the jump one day and utilized it the next. And it was a great opportunity to for the national team of jumpers as well as the national team of Nordic combined people to utilize the facility before they went on tour. We took advantage of it. It is in the ORDA calendar, and certainly we try to share that. But it was it was spontaneous, and certainly we're going to strive to spread the word as best we can and continue to shout from the mountaintops everything we have going on.
Thank you. And then just so anybody that does want to, one more place to find information is, go ahead and follow the USA, Nordic on Instagram, and the USA ski jumping is on Facebook as well. So it's another place to kind of track what's going on. And again, between the Sports Council, the Olympic Authority, and ROOST, we will continue to work together to try and get as much information out in as many platforms as frequently as possible. And it's certainly a challenge, but we're all working to do better. So, and if you ever have any questions, feel free to ask, we appreciate that. The other thing is, this was asked in regards to Lake George, but I think this is a great question for all of the regions that might be impacted by the lodging, is when are the tickets going to be on sale so that they can start anticipating that hopefully uptick in reservations?
Absolutely. So we're finalizing a ticketing platform. We anticipate the launch to be 8 to 6 months out. The ticket release, which would be in between May and July of 2022. So we'll keep you updated, and as soon as the platform and everything is set up and we know exactly when we can launch it, there will be notifications, but plan for late spring, early summer of 22. And MJ, while I have the floor for a minute, there's a few items I just want to also add on to. I apologize, I left out Saranac Lake Civic Center. And this is a huge goal over the past couple of 2 months, I would say. But the Saranac Lake Civic Center is undergoing a tremendous renovation in order to be the host for curling for the 2023 games. So I did not include that when I discussed the regions, but Saranac Lake Civic Center will actually be one of the longest running venues because the curling event goes the entire length of the games. And one correction, I should say that the village of Lake Placid was tremendously helpful on all of the banners and the signage that you see around the area. And a special shout out to Kimbo Davey, who worked with us hand in hand on all of the sizing and application of those. So thank you.
Thank you. And then the last question, and this is on the website under the Save Winter. It says that the Athletes Village will be a long-term, affordable, low carbon housing. And is that still the plan? And I don't know if that's for you or for maybe Jim McKenna or whoever wants to jump in there.
I can answer a piece of that. So the Athletes Village model is constantly adapting as we get more information on the number of units that will be available at the former Cell Science Center. That will certainly house around a third of all of the delegations in the central area. I know that the developer is continually working on meeting sustainable goals. As far as the affordable piece, I know it will be community housing, and we are on the affordable housing side. We're working with the Mackenzie Overlook project, which will be an affordable housing location, and that will be utilized for the games. At the moment, I'm unsure if that will be utilized for athletes or if it will be for other client groups, but that will certainly be a key part to the games.
Did that answer the question in its entirety? Jim, do you want to add anything to that?
No, other than I know that the Peaks project is still planning on being 65% of codes or something with carbon. I'm not sure what the actual number is, but I know it's 65, but I'm not sure the terminology. The rents there are some in the up to 120% of area median income, and the bulk of them are at 150% area median income. Mackenzie Overlook is 60 to 80% of the area median income. And I think the Fawn Ridge, which is homes for sale, is up to 200% of area median income.
And then also, and I don't know, so this was the last article that they couldn't put the solar panels up there, and I don't know if we have an update or status or knowledge of that. That was in an article recently. Also, the status of the Quality Inn project that was supposed to be ready for the games. Do we have an update on that?
What I know on that is the developer was still planning on moving forward, but I think it's been supply chain, or I'm not sure, but I'm not sure of the timeline on that right now. Ashley, do you have any updated on that? I don't.
I don't, Jim. It's been a little bit since I've connected with them. I know that they're hitting a number of delays, just like everyone else with supply chain. So I don't have an update at this time.
And, again, Karen just wants to reiterate so that it's not going to be affordable housing that, as it says on the website, which might just need to be.
Yeah, and that should be updated for two things, for the affordable housing and also Athlete Village, because it will be a hybrid model between a village and other properties. So those two items need to be updated. So we'll address that. But thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions that we can address this evening? I want to thank all of our presenters this evening. Thank you for taking the time to give us all an update. We will plan on doing this probably quarterly into the summer, I would think we talked about. Is that right, Ashley? And then, as we get closer to the games, to have them more frequently. And then, again, any questions that you have that you may not want to ask, feel free to reach out. I will put my email in the chat, which always gets me in trouble, but and then we'll get to the answer. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.